We do have a quorum. I'll call the meeting of the Putnam County Planning Commission to order. Before we get into the actual business, I would like to ask, do any members of the Planning Commission have any ex parte communication they need to declare?
No.
Anyone have any conflicts of interest with with this case?
No.
Okie dokie, neither do I. All righty. Put my glasses on to see this one. We appreciate you coming out in the rain, because this is an icky weather day. This is a public hearing, and we're the Putnam County Planning Commission. We're the designated local planning agency for the county as prescribed in Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. We function under the authority of Article 11 and 12 of the Putnam County Land Development Code. The primary responsibility of the commission is to serve as an advisory body to hear and make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on matters related to provisions of and proposed amendments to the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and the Putnam County Land Development Code. The members of this board will review the application and make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners at their regularly scheduled meeting on October 22nd, 2024. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the board and not to other members of the audience. We will entertain a motion from the board. This motion will be voted on by the board members and become our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final determination regarding the application. All applicants have the right to withdraw their request at any time during the application process. We have no cases that have been withdrawn for today. Our first case and our only case is SP 24-000-001. And Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, Michael Graves, Planning and Development Services. This is SP 2401, Mount Royal Air Park Phase 2 replat. The application is a Type 1 subdivision. The applicants are Jason I. and Trevon A. Sheffield, Stephen J. and Janet C. Simonex. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. Mary F. Wachowski, Lindy D. Farmer Jr., Stoney Clinton, and Joyce Ann Jones. The location is the subject property located at 110, 12, 14, and 16 Airport Drive in Crescent City, Florida. With the 911 addresses will be assigned to each of the newly proposed lots once the final plat has been approved. The subject parcel is approximately 4.43 acres in total, with a future land use of rural residential and a zoning of a planned unit development. The applicant requests preliminary and final plat approval for the addition of 4 lots, resulting in a 7-lot utility subdivision. The residential density requirements are irrelevant for this, as the approved PUD specifies that the entire land on this parcel is for utility only. No residential dwellings can be created on this land. The parcels cannot support any residential development, as mentioned before. Namely, the development that would be supported here would be airplane hangars for the private fly-in community. The placement and development of such buildings are subject to additional buffering and screening and heightened setback requirements to prevent disruptions to the residential areas and historic areas. Here you can see an aerial view of the property in question.
Excuse me, can we get it up on our screens here in front of us? It's not coming up.
Is it not?
No.
My apologies, IT was
Not
in
to
here
worry.
earlier. Is it working? No?
We've got something blue now. Not the blue screen of death, thank heavens. There we go.
All right. There we are. Sorry about that.
Not to worry.
Anyway, here's the aerial of the block which the property is on. Here is the zoning. You can see it's PUD aside from the green block there, which is the historic Indian mound. The future land use, which is, again, rural residential, and the proposed plat. The proposed future land use and rezoning, the lands affected by the plat are within the rural residential future land use category, are adjacent to and accessed by a paved road, and are not within the military restricted operating zone. The plat adheres to all regulations for its current zoning district. The request is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of Putnam County Comprehensive Plan, is compatible with the surrounding zoning and uses, and is consistent with the requirements of the Putnam County Land Development Code. As such, staff recommends approval of the request for the preliminary and final plat approval for the Mount Royal Phase 2 subdivision replat, resulting in a 7-lot subdivision section. Any
Questions of staff? I asked one question of Mr. Perry, and I posed it talking to Jenny and to Jennifer earlier. Was a cultural impact study needed, done, on file for this particular site relative to the archaeological sites on property?
Madam Chair, may I answer that question?
Yes, sir.
So we did not request the applicant provide any cultural impact study. The reason why is the development rights are already established for that property. They can
Okay.
be built out right now. The only reason for the subdivision is to make conveyance of the airplane hangars to individual property owners
Okay.
achievable.
I just wanted to make sure of that because I know when you deal with archaeological sites, usually there's a cultural impact study that's required.
Yes, ma'am. And the only thing I could imagine is that it was done either in 1994 when the PUD was established or in 2005 when it was amended, but the entitlements are there to build the
Okay.
airplane hangars as.
And we don't know whether we have anything on file or not.
I tried to look for it before coming over today, and I couldn't locate anything.
Okay.
Madam Chair, since you asked me to look it up, if I could, I'll tell you what I found.
Okay, please do.
Well, there are Florida statutes that protect Indian burial mounds, but these are mounds that are already, as in this case, have been identified, have been researched to a certain degree. This particular one is actually protected in a very real way. It has a fence around it. If you were at another situation where you didn't know there was one there, and somebody put a shovel in the ground and you came up with a bone or something, then under Florida law, you'd have to contact the county coroner right away and go from there. But there's also even federal laws that protect
There are.
Indian burial mounds, but none of them, we're not dealing with that issue here, quite frankly.
The reason I ask is my brother's an historian and is very well aware of this archaeological site and shared with me, and this may be something that the owners don't realize, that site was excavated first back in the late 19th century, early 20th century by archaeologists from Harvard. And they pretty well messed it up. They took everything out, put it adjacent to it, and then just dumped everything back into the mound areas. There's also they found when they were doing the study later on there, that there is the remains of a Jesuit temple from 15th century Spain. So I don't know where that is in relation to the mound, but anybody wants to talk to him about it, I'll be glad to give you his phone number after the meeting. He's pretty well versed on it. And since he lives with me, I kind of got that earful this morning at breakfast. But nonetheless, I'm glad we know that, and I'll feel better about signing the plat now.
I've got a question. I'm comparing the two pieces here, showing the new lot configuration. How did planning and zoning address the minimum lot width requirements for the little lot that there is shown behind the parking area? I see it creates kind of a little landlocked. Is the frontage in the parking area considered road frontage, or how is the minimum lot width determined for that, like enclosed lot?
Is it 25A that you're referring to?
I was just.
It's the
going
one
off of-
behind the parking area, I see it.
If you look at the, so there, all those lots have frontage on the road, which I'm assuming meets the, I can't read it, but I'm assuming it meets the 100-foot minimum width on the road frontage. But you have an enclosed lot, so when you create that lot there, that would be immediately west of what is shown as parking area for Indian Mound.
That one
Creating
doesn't.
an interior lot there
Let's see.
that does not have road frontage. How did we?
So, and I don't have anything in front of me to see, but I do recall, I apologize, Madam Chair, for that. I do recall during DRC, the committee in and of itself, as well as planning and zoning, was comfortable with the dimensions of the lots. The issue that we had was a legal access situation, and we'd worked with the applicant, Mr. Sheffield, to figure out maybe an easement or something like that. But ultimately, that property, that proposed lot, is intended to be combined with the residential lot to the north of it. It's owned by Mr. Stoney Jones. So the combination of those two tracts of land will resolve any sort of road frontage or access issue.
But it's not showing a combination in this scenario, so in
No,
effect, there would be a situation where one person could own the corner and another person owned
The
the landlocked piece
portion.
behind it. I was just curious, because this always comes up when people are talking about lot splits, is how much frontage they have.
Yeah.
The minimum road frontage, and if the parking lot is considered an easement or that access so that there's not gonna be a barricade or something in between it, then I understand, but I just think that probably needs to be addressed on that particular lot, so that we don't have a landlocked situation where they then have to go to court and argue over what the legal ingress egress is.
Certainly. Michael, did anything in our staff report address that landlocked piece of land?
I can't recall off the top of my head if the staff report itself addressed the landlocked portion. However, the DRC did approve for a private easement to go along the northern side of the property through Lot 25 into Lot 25A.
Okay, between the two?
Yes, ma'am.
This piece right here.
Originally, it was required to be a paved road dedicated to the county, as all other roads normally would be in a Type 1 subdivision. However, it was determined that such a road in that area could not only almost completely engulf the Lot 25A with the required cul-de-sac on the end, it could also potentially be dangerous to the Indian Mound site just because of the amount of asphalt and digging they would have to do. As such, it was determined that for the sake of history and for the sake of property rights, it would be acceptable to use a dirt access easement for the foreseeable future for what is ultimately a utility-only parcel.
And which other parcel, residential parcel, will that be?
It would be combined
Into-
into Lot 25, the one in the
Okay.
northeast
Okay.
corner there.
The one to the north.
Okay, that makes sense. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern there would be in the situation where somehow that did not get combined and
Yeah.
there were two owners there. You know, it's just, I'm just seeing the legal issues down there, because
Understandable. The DRC has required that they must make the access easement, and that will be considered and acceptable by the Public Works Department.
okay, and then do they have, what would be the minimum width of access there?
I would have to defer you to Public Works normally, though off the top of my head, I believe it to be 30 feet wide.
Because I believe the last discussion we had about this, the Land Development Code had a 66-foot wide easement as minimum for lot split stuff, but the Public Works was allowing down to maybe a 35-foot easement, somewhere in that ballpark, but
Again, I'd have to defer you to Public Works, unfortunately.
okay, well,
Mr. Morris, if I may expand too. So the 66-foot right-of-way that you're referring to is your status quo for a new paved road. You're correct. We can go down to a 35-foot wide easement with a 20-foot wide stabilized surface for an easement serving two properties. I believe, if recollection is correct here, Public Works allowed it to go down to a 30-foot easement during DRC, and rather than it extending into the property as is typical, they allowed it to terminate at the property line proposed for Lot 25A,
Okay.
simply because the only thing that would come in and out of there is either a passenger vehicle, a recreational vehicle, or an airplane. So the biggest thing was making sure we get an easement wide enough for airplane wings that wouldn't hit trees or anything of that nature.
And that easement
how
will
do-
be
how do you-
between 25 and 25A, right?
And how do you restrict that? How do you make it so that 15 years from now, after this is an established lot, it's not combined via parcel number, that you don't run into the argument of, you have a lot there, we need to access our lot, it's owned by two different people. Like, what in this,
The deed for 25A will record that they have access to their lot through the easement that will run through lots 25 and 26 along that northern border line.
Okay.
It will guarantee by right of deed that they will always have access even if it is not combined with lot 25.
I got you, and you guys are you're confident we're not creating a non-conforming lot there for that interior lot?
That's correct. After it went through DRC, it then went through our lot split committee, which is comprised of, essentially, for point of discussion, the county surveyor, who ensured that the legal description for not only the created lots, but also the easement accessing 25A were appropriate.
Okay. Okay. I'm fine with that. I know that in the past, we've run into that. Like you just said, the easement had to extend onto the property. They had to have a minimum, in this case, I think 100 feet. So it seems like that lot, me being not schooled in this, appears to be a non-conforming lot via what I've read through the land development code. If you guys are more in depth than that, I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable that we're not creating a non-conforming lot there.
Thank you, Justin. Any other questions of staff? Thank you, Michael. At this time, I will ask the owner or the owner's agent if you'd like to come forward and talk with us. Have anything else you'd like to add that didn't come up?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Jason Sheffield. I am one of the property owners, and I'm also the agent on record. I think between Michael, Zachary, and Justin, I think everything has pretty much been covered. I think all these conversations about easements, access of easements, and all that good stuff, we talked about at DRC. We had basically defined a 30-foot easement coming in to that lot 25A. We originally had it on the plat, but the county surveyor made us take it off because I guess we can't record an easement on the official plat. So that easement will be coming at some point once the plat is recorded. The replat is recorded.
Okay.
So I'm good. Any questions for me?
Any questions for the agent? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience, I'll open it up now for public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either for or against this particular application? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing portion of this meeting and bring it back to the board for discussion, motion, and vote.
I move that we move to approve the case SBA 240001 as it is consistent with the goals and objectives of the county.
And Aaron has seconded. Is there any further discussion? I do appreciate everybody's due diligence on this and making sure that we've answered questions. And I know I had a kind of picky question, but I do appreciate that getting answered. I had to deal with Indian repatriation stuff when I was building libraries in Georgia, so it kind of struck me. Anyhow, thank you very much. We'll take a vote on that. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? Okay. This will now go on October 22nd to the Board of County Commissioners. And I think I have to sign something. Is that what you're holding there with a black Sharpie? I did this in the car one time, and Ginny brought it out to me. not really an EAR, as we know an EAR, but it's an acronym. Evaluation, review, and analysis, isn't it? Of the comprehensive plan.
Evaluation and appraisal report of our comprehensive plan, but yes,
Have some good words in there like that.
but it is an ear.
It is an EAR, and this is something that's required every 7 years, I understand.
I don't know if anything's, if the presentation is showing up on the screen. I don't know. I have it up. I just don't know if okay. It's up. Perfect. Good evening, members of the commission. Name's Robert Jordan. I work for the Northeast Florida Regional Council. We've been contracted with Putnam County to assist on the evaluation and appraisal review update to the comprehensive plan. Make sure I hit the right button. Sorry about that. There we go. So with the EAR process, the EAR process is required every 7 years. To reflect statutory changes since the last update to the comprehensive plan. And there has been a little more teeth added over the last few years with the Florida Commerce, the state land planning agency, preventing any further plan amendments that are initiated by the county if they're not in compliance. So there's a little more regulatory and enforcement teeth to it at this particular point. The comprehensive plan was updated in 2021. It was outside of the EAR timeline, but it was updated. So you are already in compliance with the property rights element and a few other things, but there's been some statutory changes since 2021, and that's where this evaluation and appraisal review process is going to work with that. So at this table here, we worked on to kind of address just the text amendments that we are proposing based upon statutory changes since 2021. So the first proposed policy we're adding is to address, it's actually was part of the affordable housing legislation before Live Local Act, which permits the Board of County Commissioners to approve housing that is affordable as long as it meets the statutory definition of affordable housing and it's a certain number of units. That will be allowed within commercial or industrial land use. The next amendment is the definition of resiliency facility and is a permitted use within the commercial and industrial future land use districts. Resiliency facility is just for natural gas distribution, and those are permitted use by Florida state statutes within commercial and industrial districts. You already, or Putnam County already permits solar facilities as a permitted use in agricultural land use districts, but the state definition or the statutory reference was not included within that text. So this is just to cover that, to ensure this is actually an older pre-2021 legislation, but we just proposed this so that when a developer comes in, they are specifically referencing state definitions of what a solar facility is. There's two other changes that have been kind of big ones in the last year. In 2023, House Bill 1379 was passed to address nitrogen offshoots into basin management action plans, or BMAPs. These are state-defined areas where they've determined river valleys or certain floodplain valleys are particularly vulnerable to nutrient offshoots. And there's two parts of this statutory change that came into effect. One is requiring all communities to start looking at sanitary sewer feasibility. Now, you guys do not have to do this. You're in a rural area of opportunity, and so therefore Putnam County is excused from doing this particular statutory requirement. However, we have proposed objectives and policies that are just placeholders. So the county will be in compliance with the statute is the objective, and the policy is Putnam County is currently in a rural area of opportunity and therefore does not have to do this. So that's really just the policy language. The other you do have to is propose goal H, 8.5 and associated objective policies dealing with listing the projects listed by either the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, or we've contacted with county staff as well, that address nutrient reduction within the basin management action plans. There are two large ones. There's the Lower St. Johns River Basin Management Action Plan, basically along the eastern portion of your county, and then just a little bit into the southwestern portion, parts of the Ocklawaha Basin Management Action Plan are included. So projects that were listed by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection have been included in this list that's going to be proposed to be part of your capital improvements element. And then there is also a series of projects that were listed by county public works staff as well in correspondence with them. So these are the proposed text amendments associated with the comprehensive plan and with the EAR compliance. We are also proposing a update to the planning horizon. It's now 20 years. It used to be 10 years, but now it's up to 20-year time period to 2045, based on, and I want to emphasize this, based on the best available data from the Florida's Bureau of Economic and Business Research, or BEBR. The population is projected to grow by 4.1%. This is fine within being in compliance. Florida Commerce will accept this. I do emphasize that that number is, might be accurate now, but it's clearly growth that is coming into the area. So if you do want to address this in a non-compliance when you're updating your comprehensive plan, based upon what your own local guidelines will do, you can address that with better available data at that point. Water supply facility work plans. The regional water supply plan was updated in December of 2023, and so state requirements that any community that has a water supply facility work plan, which Putnam County does, has to be updated in 18 months after that time period.
The case we just heard, the Mount Royal Air Park has its own water and sewer system, and it's not on your list. I noticed that today when I just read one and I started reading the other one, and I saw that was not on there, so you might want to add that one.
I will, yeah, we can definitely add that.
So you had Lake Como, I was impressed. There are a lot of them, I think, squirreled away around the county.
I understand, yes. So a lot
But
of this
the
comes
Mount
from-
Royal Air Park does have their own sewer and water system.
Definitely look. I know a lot of this comes from the Department of Environmental Protections, at least based upon what the projects they have and other local staff. But we could definitely include that as well, and that just would go into the capital improvements element under that listed project.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I understand. So with the water supply facility work plan, we are proposing changes just to reflect the regional water supply plan changes to the demand and water demand and projection numbers that are within the regional water supply plan. So it's just updating your county water supply facility work plan to reflect those changes to the regional water supply plan in order to be in compliance with those. There's also been map series updates, and this is just to reflect better, more accurate or better data that's come out since 2021. So the future land use map update has been updated as part of the comprehensive plan to reflect what is on file with the county GIS department, functional classification maps, and the number of lanes and annual average daily trips based on Florida Department of Transportation's most up-to-date information, wetland cover maps from FDP, and then planned proposed multi-use trails maps. They've just updated the FDP priorities list for their trails, so that's just to reflect that data. And we also, right now, there is a designated historic district map that's just the Melrose area that's within the comprehensive plan, but part of state statutes also requires showcasing designated historic structures that are on the National Park Service list as well. So we just pulled that data in and made a countywide map of those that are within unincorporated Putnam County.
Yeah.
And this is just a kind of a brief overview. We did this presentation with the Putnam County BOCC as part of the presentation at the end of August, just explaining some of the changes that have happened since 2021. Probably the biggest legislative change has been in affordable housing with the Live Local Act. Now, the Live Local Act has the portion that is addressing affordable housing in your comprehensive plan is the non-preemptive. I believe up to, I have to check the numbers again, up to 10 units would be allowed for the county to determine if they want to bypass the rezoning with industrial and commercial. But if it's up to 40 units, I'd have to, that is where it gets into preemption territory. And that is with the Live Local Act, counties and local governing bodies have to, by right, allow affordable housing as defined in state statutes within industrial, commercial uses. And there's been another series of fixes in this year's legislation addressing some of the height issues and some of the density issues that were, for example, airports.
Right,
Some
I'm
of
thinking
those
the
height
height,
those height restrictions were not included in the original legislation, but those were addressed in the legislation passed this last session.
And we've got that included in our plan, don't we? It's either in the land development code or the comp plan, the height issues and all that.
We do have airport height notification zones. We do have that established in our land development code. I'm not sure that we have much legislation in our comprehensive plan
We do
for
on
the
that
airport stuff.
There's been a series of other amendments as well. We kind of mentioned with utilities, with the resiliency facilities or those natural gas distribution points, the planning procedures. They're just strengthening some of the rules associated with them, including the EAR process, and environmental protection, including those BMAP projects. There's just been a lot of legislative changes since the 2021 update to the comprehensive plan. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to ask or happy to
I
answer.
don't have a question, but I do have a request. As you're talking with the Board of County Commissioners, I know you understand this, and I think most of us understand this pretty well. The difficulty in getting up-to-date, up-to-the-minute, accurate statistical data. We're always going to have a lag time. We're always going to be dependent upon the U.S. Census Bureau. We're always going to be dependent upon Beaver to pull it down from the Census Bureau and then make it available through their services. So we're never going to have this year's data or even last year's data that we can accurately depend on for planning. And I think that's one of the things that we've struggled with statistics doing the comprehensive plan revision. And it's also one of the things that's been an issue during our most recent campaign for county commission. So if you would make that a note when you talk about Beaver, just talk about the fact that they're doing the best they can do with what they've got, and they can't get anything better than what they get.
Yes.
So I tried to explain that because I've done statistics, but if you could reemphasize that?
Yes, we understand. I mean, Bieber is using past data where the county did lose population in the last 10 years, and it's very hard for them to catch up to what clearly you are seeing on the ground that's coming, because they're using they have to use past data in order to create these projections, and until that data comes in.
And there's good and bad about that, but anyhow, this looks like you've done a really good job. Questions we have for this fine gentleman?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a definition of affordable housing?
So there is a state statute definition of affordable housing, and it's based upon area median income. I'd have to look at the exact, it's chapter 420.004 Florida statutes, and it's a percentage of houses that fall, it's a percentage that fall under that AMI.
So it varies from one area to another?
It does. It would, the actual number would vary, but it's based on a percentage of that AMI within the jurisdiction, so not just county, but also municipality.
Good question. Any other questions? What do you need from us?
I think just to know how the process works, I mean, you guys are the local planning agency, so would we just vote on affirmation or approval?
We accept his report and approve it?
Yes, ma'am, and with that, within your packets, there was the proposed text that is going to be added to the comprehensive plan. So, I'd like to take this opportunity, too, to remind not only the Planning Commission, but anyone who's in the audience or watching online that this is not changing any of our current regulations to make things more restrictive or difficult for development or anything like that. We're simply trying to adhere with Florida statutes at this point.
That's purely the only reason we do this, isn't it? To make sure that our documents and our planning documents concur with what Florida statute is requiring of us. And that's why we do this every 7 years.
And Madam Chair, to address your question, yes, today we are seeking your recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. And at the October 22nd BOCC meeting, we're going to be seeking an approval from the BOCC to go ahead and send this for state coordinated review. So once, if the BOCC is happy with the proposed text and what Mr. Jordan has prepared for us, we'll put everything into a packet, send it out for state coordinated review. Approximately 60 to 90 days later, we're going to be trying to schedule for adoption. And at that point in time, we can bring it back to the Planning Commission so that you all can see what the state's comments may have been, so on and so
Very
forth.
similar to what we do with the comp plan.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you offer the text of the motion that needs to be made to make this happen? You can do that?
I can do that.
I'm sorry. Public comment, yes, please. And also, I had a question about the survey that's been up on the website. Where have those responses been taken into consideration?
So those responses, we have them stored in, and they're very broad questions that are more dealing with the comprehensive. They're more for a kind of guideposts of what you're in compliance. And we've been providing snapshots of like the amounts. I think it was at 60 some when I was last looked.
Okay.
And so we've gotten some pretty good. That's a pretty good level of feedback that we're starting to see.
Yes.
And so what will happen is it's through ArcGIS Survey 123's application, through our services, we can actually download those results into Excel, or download those results, and then we can provide them to you.
Now, will those be incorporated anyway into this EAR report?
Not really into the EAR report because it's statutory compliance. It's more just to provide a framework for it. We provide this as part of services.
Okay.
Because the EAR compliance is really seen as kind of the potential next step if you want to do a full comprehensive plan update or updates to
Some of
comprehensive
us
plan.
still have shell shock from having done that a few years ago, so tread gently with that.
Understood. But just for local knowledge as well
Right.
of what you want to, if you want to address the comprehensive plan, if it is it's something that is seen in the community. But because EAR compliance is statutory based, it won't really be going into the EAR compliance section.
Thank you. And thank you, Aaron, for prompting me. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against the proposed EAR report? Okay, well, seeing none, now I'll call for the question. Did you want to phrase that question, Mr. Hancock?
Yeah.
All right.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we forward the evaluation and appraisal report amendment to the comprehensive plan to the county commissioners for approval.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a proper second. Both are proper, actually. Do I have any discussion? This was an easier EAR report than the last two I've been through. So we thank you for what you've done for us. Okay. Hearing no other questions or concerns, all in favor of this motion to forward this to the BOCC, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anyone opposed? All righty. We will send this on to the BOCC.
Susan,
Yes, sir.
I got a follow-up question to this, not part of this.
Okay.
How often can the county initiate changes, amendments, whatever, to our comprehensive plan and land development code?
Monthly.
That could be done monthly?
I mean, we've done text amendments anytime we need them, don't we?
Does it have to relate specifically to a certain item, or can it relate to the policy as it applies countywide?
It can be both, can it?
I know I've seen them come through, for like one request to do something, and there have been changes to it. But okay, so it can go either way. All right, thank you.
We've done a lot of text amendments over the years. We've tried a few and didn't get them done, didn't we?
Yeah, and denied a few, too.
Yes, sir, we did. Only one. Only one and once. But we're going to get back to that, Justin. We came out of it, friends. Okay. We're talking about a text amendment concerning personal sawmills. And we struggled with that for a little bit. Is there any old business that needs to come before the board? Is there any new business that needs to come before the board? What's up next month?
Madam Chair, forgive me for the record, I've been on vacation for the past 6 days. And I just came in today to be here for support on the EAR, so.
I got sick. You got a surgery. You had surgery. I had COVID. So. We had a little vacation. So we don't know necessarily. Jenny, do you know? Okay. That's all right. Not to worry. It's always nice to know ahead of time what's coming up. And everything you want to bring us up to date on any action with the BOCC that we might need to know about or anything they've done? He's been on vacation. Well, I can tell you one thing that happened, and the over 55 facility that was proposed for Putnam County Boulevard that we turned down, Board of County Commissioners turned down. The judge sent it back and said, get your act together. And the BOCC reluctantly approved it a couple of weeks ago. So that was a residential facility that's mainly RV type, permanent RVs. Manufactured homes, yes. There was quite a bit of contention on that, and we understand that. So, but it came back from the judge saying, this is something I want you to do. Sometimes when the judge says that, it's not easy. But pretty much everything else we've sent forward has gone through. And we appreciate staff very much, and we appreciate all that you do for us. And you keep us straight and out of trouble. And now we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Yes, sir, you may.
One other comment based on what she was just talking about. That's what prompted my previous question about the ability to be able to change or amend our comprehensive plan, land development code, and so forth and so on. Because I personally think there are a number of areas in the plan and the code that need revisions simply based on a couple of cases I've watched go through to where I think the county had to suck up to things they shouldn't have to suck up to. And I don't mean to use that term, but that's a fact.
And if I can expand too, Madam Chair, so there's two different text amendments that the county can pursue that we can initiate, one being to our land development code, which goes through very similar to like a rezoning of a piece of land. When you start going to a text amendment for our comprehensive plan, of course we've got a small scale and a large scale amendment. Any text amendment to the comprehensive plan is a large scale and has to be transmitted to the state. So it's just a more cumbersome process, but it can be done, and it can be done pretty frequently too.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done one, but there for a while we were doing a lot of text amendments. So, but we appreciate all that you do and all that you've done for us, and we appreciate this board very much. You all have been through the thick and the thin of it with us, and I think we've made some good progress over the last few years, and I'm kind of proud of y'all. So, with that being said, we have the minutes of the August 14th meeting. Neither the chair, vice chair or the chair were that meeting, so I'll let you all leave that discussion of the minutes and if there's any changes or corrections that need to be made. Madam Chair Pro Tem?
No.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of August 14th.
Okay, Joey and Tom. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye. Hearing nothing else, it is 4:45. This meeting is adjourned.